Hi, I'm Josh Reese with Red Point Builders from Cooperstown, New York. I'm here today at Advanced Repair Technologies Studio to demonstrate their flexible epoxy repair system. When it comes to maintaining and repairing a home, everyone's house is susceptible to rot where wood meets water. Red Point Builders has been using this product for over 10 years now to try to combat this problem, and we found that there's nothing else on the market that compares to it, as the FlexTech HV is engineered to a higher standard. When approaching the problems of repair around the house, there are several ways that you can do it. One, you could remove the problem area completely and replace it with new material. However, this usually comes at a considerable cost. Two, you could use a wooden patch to replace the damaged area, but this usually leaves behind a visible seam. Now, there's a third way, the ART way. So let's go down to the workshop and we'll demonstrate some ways that we can use the Advanced Repair Technologies FlexTech HV epoxy repair system.
When starting the repair process, one of the most important steps to take is the proper preparation of the surface and the area of the wood to be repaired. Here we're going to demo some of the tools used to do this. The first step will be to open cracks, remove any damaged or rotten wood, just as a dentist would do with a cavity. This will halt any further decay that may continue underneath once the FlexTech is applied. Die grinders are one of the most effective tools for accomplishing this. They're flexible and maneuverable and can be wielded like a pencil to easily get into tight spots. Also, there's no base to obstruct the view, as can be the case with a router. Different bits can be swapped and applied depending on the area to be ground out. Once the rod is removed, the area will need to be sanded, which can be accomplished by hand or with a power sander depending on the level and shape of the area to be repaired. So let's take a quick look at how this process works. Here we have a corner support that has already had a few repairs made to it using ART's FlexTech system. We're going to take time now to repair a weathered split and a rotted crack next to the scrollwork, grinding both down to fresh wood. Designing a new support would likely be very expensive, but using ART's simple repair system, we can salvage the original support. Next, we're going to remove any fibers for a smooth edge and check for soft spots to ensure that all the rod has been removed. Once we're satisfied that the rod has been removed, we can sand the area and we're ready to begin the epoxy process. The first step in the FlexTech repair system is a two-part bonding agent called Primatrate. This comes in parts A and B. Primatrate primes the wood for the repair epoxy by penetrating deep into the fibers of the wood to create a strong bond between the wood and the FlexTech. As you can see here, the Primatrate has penetrated and bonded with the fibers of this brush, much as it does with fibers of the wood to be repaired. It will flex and move with the wood as it expands and contracts, ensuring that the bond won't crack as the seasons change. Primatrate is mixed in a 2 parts A to 1 part B solution. Using a measuring cup to ensure accuracy, pour out an amount sufficient for the current job, remembering the 2-to-1 ratio. The solution should then be mixed, ensuring a uniform color. Once prepared, the Primatrate can be applied using a brush or with a small pour bottle for a more precise application. Next, we're going to apply Primatrate, thoroughly coating the prepared areas. Using a brush, we'll make sure that the entire area will be coated with Primatrate, ensuring a strong, even bond with the Flex-Tek. Once applied, allow the uncured Primatrate to dwell on the surface and penetrate deeply into the wood fiber for at least 10 minutes, but no more than 30 minutes before applying the Flex-Tek. Once we've coated the area with the Primatrate bonding agent, we're ready to begin the next phase of the Flex-Tek repair system, which is a zero VOC product. Using ART's 300X double tube epoxy gun, we will mount the two-part Flex-Tek canister and we're ready to mix. A mechanically stronger gun than traditional caulk guns, the 300X is designed to be used with ART's static mixing nozzle. Fixed to the end of the canister, the static mixing nozzle thoroughly mixes the two-part epoxy as it is dispensed, allowing the Flex-Tek to be applied directly from the gun. Alternatively, ART has available the 300LV double tube epoxy gun. Once again, you'll place the two-part Flex-Tek in the gun and you're ready for mixing. Importantly, this gun cannot be used with the static mixing nozzles. Once the Flex-Tek is loaded, you'll need to unscrew the cap, remove the two stoppers from either side of the openings. Using a surface such as this inexpensive plastic cutting board, dispense an amount of the two-part repair system suitable for your restoration. As you can see, unlike with the static mixing nozzle, here we need to thoroughly mix the two parts of the Flex-Tek. Replace the plugs and the cap, and the remaining Flex-Tek can be stored for future repair. Should you lose the plugs, a penny can also be used as a replacement to seal the two openings. Next, using a large putty knife, mix the two parts of the Flex-Tek epoxy until it has reached a consistent color. Once mixed, apply the Flex-Tek to the pre-treated areas, taking time to smooth out any ripples and sculpting to match any detail. It's important to mention that both Primatrate and Flex-Tek are exothermic curing materials. This means the curing takes place by generating heat when parts A and B are mixed together. The curing speed is directly related to outside air temperatures, surface temperature, humidity, and size of the repair. The colder the temperature, the longer the curing will need. The warmer the temperature, the faster the curing will happen. Thick layers cure faster than thin layers because of heat buildup and heat retention during the curing process. Once finished, allow the Flex-Tek to dry for typically 24 hours at 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Then it is ready to be sanded and painted to match the original area. To assist you in your repair, ART has a set of specialized sculpting tools, though any standard putty knife may be used or cut to match the shape of your repair. One of the great benefits of the Flex-Tek repair system is its high viscosity, which allows it to be easily sculpted to any shape. See here how the Flex-Tek is evenly bonded to this chipped area that is dramatically tapered. Normally this is a difficult shape to match. For smaller projects and around the home repairs, Advanced Repair Technology has a smaller canister of the two-part Flex-Tek system that can be mounted directly into any standard caulking gun. Two internal containers separate and dispense the two parts evenly, much like the double canister. Mounted into a standard caulking gun, the two-part Flex-Tek can be dispensed and mixed for your at-home repairs. Once again, be sure to mix the Flex-Tek to an even color. If you'd like to use the static mixing nozzles for your repair with the 150 milliliter Flex-Tek tube, Advanced Repair has available the 41004 XT single cartridge mixing gun that can be fitted with a static mixing nozzle. Attach the mixing nozzle with the cartridge cap and dispense as needed. Cleaning the unused Flex-Tek off your tools and surfaces is a simple process. Advanced Repair Technology has available handy towels with a non-toxic orange solvent that will quickly and cleanly remove the Flex-Tek from your putty knives and mixing board. Alternatively, simple household vinegar can be used for the same effect. We hope you found this overview of Advanced Repair Technology's Flex-Tek HV system helpful. In the next chapter, we'll demonstrate some ways to use Flex-Tek in the field. Let's take time now to demonstrate some of the ways the Flex-Tek can be used to repair cracks on the cornice of this house so that it can be painted to match the undamaged area. As you can see, cracks over time have formed in the wood of this cornice. As replacing the high-quality old-growth wood would be both expensive and likely replaced with lesser quality wood, repairing the cracks with the Flex-Tek system is an optimal solution. The first thing we'll do, once again, is grind out the cracks and ensure we remove any damaged or rotten wood. During surface preparation, it is important to make sure that all old paint is removed before applying Flex-Tek so that it can bond directly with the wood, not to the paint. Once we've ensured that the original area is well ground and there are no soft spots indicating rot, we're ready to apply the Primatrate. Mixing the two-part Primatrate, we will thoroughly coat the area that we intend to repair with the Flex-Tek. Here, using the 300X double tube epoxy gun and the static mixing nozzle, we will fill the cracks with the two-part Flex-Tek epoxy. Once filled, we smooth the Flex-Tek with a putty knife so that it is flush with the original wood. For the larger knothole, we will dispense the 2-part Flex-Tek onto a mixing board, thoroughly mixing with our putty knife to achieve a consistent color and fill the hole. As you can see, the Flex-Tek's high viscosity makes working upside down very easy. Smoothing out the epoxy so it is flush with the surface, it is now ready to dry for 24 hours, after which it can be sanded and painted to match the undamaged areas. Cracks in the typically wide freezeboard of historic properties can be a chronic problem for homeowners. Replacing the otherwise undamaged and high-quality old-growth wood is expensive and less than ideal for cracks that can be easily repaired using the Flex-Tek system. First, we'll want to prepare the surface by removing any paint and sanding the wood. Here you can see an example of poor surface preparation as the original paint was not completely removed. The Flex-Tek bonded to the paint instead of the wood and now can be easily chipped off. For this reason, proper surface preparation is a necessity to ensure the longevity of your repair. Once the paint is removed and the wood sanded, we'll want to grind out the cracks and remove any rot. With the cracks ground out, we'll apply the 2-part Primatrate bonding agent, making sure to thoroughly coat the area. Having mixed the 2-part Flex-Tek, we fill the cracks and tool it flush with the surface. Once the Flex-Tek has had 24 hours to dry, the repair can be sanded and painted. Here we have an example of some major damage to the cornice of this house that can also be easily repaired using the Flex-Tek system. One might assume that major damage like this is beyond repair, but using a few simple techniques, we can salvage this superior old-growth wood and repair the hole with a Flex-Tek system. First, we want to clean out any debris, such as a nest that may have been built in the opening, and then evenly cut out the hole. To remove a stubborn rusty nail, tap it in twice to loosen and then remove. For very large repairs such as this, we will use a clean wood block filler to take up space and reduce the amount of Flex-Tek required. Using 2 screws as handles, place the pieces into the hole, filling the gap, and screw them into place. Measure and cut out another piece the size of the hole. scrape off any paint chips to ensure a strong bond with the wood. Next, we apply the two-part Primatrate, thoroughly coating the area to be filled and the piece of wood that will be used to fill the hole. Mix and apply the two parts of the Flex-Tek system, thoroughly coating and filling the gaps. Coat the fill piece with a layer of Flex-Tek and place it in the hole. The Flex-Tek will hold the fill piece in place, allowing us to fill in the remaining cracks and gaps. When using woodblock fillers, remember to butter the bottom of the hole, then butter all surfaces of the wood block. This coating will ensure a good bond to all surfaces and helps reduce large voids of trapped air. Lastly, make sure that the wood block sits well below the surface, at least 1/4 inch, to prevent problems with sanding and ghosting after painting. The Flex-Tek will hold the fill piece in place, allowing us to fill in the remaining cracks and gaps. Lastly, smooth out the surface with an even coat of the Flex-Tek. With the hole filled, the Flex-Tek should be left to dry for 24 hours, when it can be sanded and painted to match the undamaged areas.
Hi, we're back up in Advanced Repair Technology Studio. We have some cured samples of epoxy here so we can demonstrate some working tooling techniques that may not be commonly understood. We'd like to show you how you can hand plane and route and sand and drill the cured epoxy in the same way that you're used to working with the wood. So let's try some hand planing and we'll show you how easy it can be. Okay, so there we have an example of how easy it can be to work with the cured epoxy, and also demonstrates how it will not compromise the bond between the cured Flex-Tek and the wood. If you look at the shavings, we have a great example of how the Flex-Tek also moves with the wood. Okay, now that we can see how easy it can be to hand plane cured epoxy, let's go into routing an edge profile where maybe there's too much epoxy that you would want to work by hand. And there you can see that the finished profile is just as smooth as it normally is in wood. There's no chips, there's no splits, no cracks, and the bond is still intact. Okay, now let's go into a fill and re-drill scenario where maybe you had to move a lock set or hinges, repositioned on a door. Red Point Builders, we've had to do this numerous times, and the Flex-Tek is great for this application to show you that we can drill smoothly into the cured epoxy and that it will accept the threads of the screw without chipping, cracking, and really lets the screw bite in there. So there you can see the cured epoxy holds the screw very well. There's no cracking, chipping, or splitting. And there you have just a few examples how you can tool and shape the cured epoxy just as you normally can with wood. And I'm sure you'll find, as we have, that with the Flex-Tek system, the possibilities are endless. So So now we'd like to take one final opportunity to show you some more advanced or creative techniques for recreating complex shapes. Here we have the corner support that you saw earlier, where we demonstrated a basic filling technique of cracks and removing some rotten wood. In this particular spot, we'd like to show you how thinking outside of the box and being more creative will help you to recreate these complex curves and be able to accomplish something that at first glance may seem like an impossible task. Here we're going to try to finish this repair on this curve here. As you can see, the detail on this leaves a fairly small gap. If we were going to try to tool this by hand, it would be more difficult and would probably require several applications. So we're going to use a plexiglass form that will hopefully be able to allow us one final application. Here I've cut a strip of this thin plexiglass. I'm going to place it into the curve. Then I can mark and cut a length that will allow me to place the piece completely inside the curve. Okay, the length is good on our plexiglass strip, so before I install it and get ready for the epoxy application, I'm going to quickly spray this plexiglass with a vegetable spray. We've pre-mixed our FlexTech, and now we'll start applying. When you're applying FlexTech over an already cured area, you do not need to use the Primatrate primer. FlexTech sticks very well to itself. There you go. We'll let that cure overnight, and in the morning we'll remove the plexiglass. We should have a smooth, finished repair. Now let's move on to a smaller detail here on the corner support. Here we've chosen to use some French curves that we got at the local craft store to try to repair this small, tighter curve in this area of the repair. Alright, now that we've finished these other two repairs, given them a chance to dry, we're going to address this curve on the front and show you a different technique where we'll cut out a putty knife to duplicate a curve, so we can do this in one shot rather than build it up by hand in multiple steps. First thing we'll do is take a putty knife, place it in the space that we want to fill, and we'll roughly mark out the height and the width of this board here. That'll give us a reference to create the shape. Now, in this particular application, I don't want the knife to be sitting here because I want to be able to create this side of the putty as well. So I'm going to cut out an L shape that allows this edge to drop down lower, and we should be able to do it in one pass. Have a simple L shape. We'll cut that out with a pair of snips. Now that we've got our profile cut in our putty knife, I'm going to go ahead and fill the area. I'm going to use another knife to build this up to actually more than I want, so at the end I can bring this putty knife in with the profile and hopefully smooth it off in one pass, and we should be good to go. So let's get that filled in. Now that we've overfilled the epoxy in the area we want to repair, we're ready to set our profile knife in place and finish this in one pass. There you go. You can see by using this technique, we were able to duplicate the undamaged area by creating our own profile on a simple knife that we were able to get at a local hardware store. Okay, now that our repairs that we made yesterday have had a chance to dry overnight, we're ready to remove the plexiglass and see the results of the curve that we made. I'm going to start by, I'll use a chisel here to tap on it, release it slowly, and it should pull right out. There you go. You can see by using this simple technique we were able to create a really nice curve, and we also saved ourselves hours of sculpting and sanding by hand that we would normally have to do without a piece of plexiglass like this. You'll find that there are many creative applications you can use this technique for. Another good example is perhaps creating an outside corner with two pieces of plexiglass. This could be used in an application such as repairing a windowsill, the corner of a door, perhaps exterior trim on your house, the corner board, or where the skirts meet. By using two pieces, you can create a right angle, obviously any other shapes that you like. And I'll give you a quick example here of filling in a little bit of epoxy and then using some vegetable spray as a release agent on the plexiglass. We'll be able to hold the plexi in place just by the surface tension and not have to use any clamps. And we'll just, once we fill in the spot that we want to repair, we'll use this plexi to create a nice flat surface. Be nice and smooth. We can use the second one to create the outside corner. As you can see, because the FlexTech doesn't slump or sag, there's no need to clamp the plexi in place. It'll be held there sheerly by the surface tension of the FlexTech. Let that dry overnight. The release agent will allow the plexi to pop right off, and I'm sure you'll be as happy with the results of your project as we have been with ours. Before we conclude our demonstration, I'd like to quickly go over some finishing options once the epoxy is cured. The dry epoxy sands about like hard oak, and we recommend treating first with a good quality latex primer. After that, you can finish with any product of your choice to match whatever surrounding area you have repaired. Let's quickly go over a little bit of sanding, and we'll apply some primer right now. Okay, we left our FlexTech application fairly smooth, so I was able to start with an 80 grit sandpaper. But remember, the FlexTech sands like hard oak, so if your surface is a little rougher, you might want to start with a heavier duty sandpaper, say 60, possibly even a 40. Now that I'm happy with the result of sanding, we're ready to apply the latex primer. Once our primer is dry, we're ready to apply the top coat paint of our choice. If you are not applying a solid color and want to do a clear coat so your epoxy matches the surrounding wood, you can also tint the epoxy during the application. For more information about that, please check out the Bolton tinting demo that's also included on this DVD.
Thank you for taking the time to learn more about Advanced Repair Technologies' FlexTech HV system. We hope we've given you some creative ways that ART's repair system can be used on your own restoration projects. With Primatrate's anchoring capabilities that penetrate the wood's fiber, FlexTech's sculptability, its engineered flexibility to expand and contract with the wood over time, and its ability to be easily sanded, planed, and painted to match original detail, Advanced Repair Technologies' FlexTech HV repair system provides unparalleled satisfaction when it comes to wood repair. With the double cartridge FlexTech or the single cartridge FlexTech Mini that can be easily mounted in any standard caulking gun, ART's repair system is ready to help you with all your restoration projects. ask your local retailer to stock ART's Flex-Tek HV system. Order now by calling 866-859-2787 or online at advancedrepair.com.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Andrew Adams, owner of Platinum Contracting Design Build Renovate. We're here in Bolton, Massachusetts, doing a big architectural structural remodel on an old historic barn dating back, in the 1700s. We're here with ART Advanced Repair Technology, using their Flex-Tek, which is a two-part epoxy that we inject into cracks, or we can mold into anything we basically want to restore the structural integrity of the beams that we're trying to keep as a finished product here. We have over 20,000 square feet of building to cover. It's a multi-step process. Kind of how we got involved with it was it was spec'd on the original plans from the architect, Kanayo Lala. Basically, he was up in the air. I had a representative come out from ART to give us a demonstration. It went very well, and basically he sold me on the installation of the product itself. I'd say the biggest difference in this product is the application. Everything else is putties and mixes. You can straight inject this through a caulking style gun, and it really decreases the labor costs throughout the the course of the project. It is injectable. You can hand mix it, you can tint it, you can paint it. It's just a phenomenal product that we've been using throughout the whole course of the job. And we're on the tail end of it now, where we're going to, in a little bit, give a little demonstration of what's going on. We're at the point where we're just finishing up, and we're just going to give you a little demonstration on how things are going in the process of doing it. Okay, so we're here at demonstration time. This is Dan Burke from Platinum Contracting. We're here to give you an actual demonstration of how we've been going throughout the building, using all the different techniques and different application styles to use the Flex-Tek product. So Dan's going to run you through the 5-step process of how it all works. So Dan, here you go.
Thank you, Andrew. So the first thing you're going to want to do probably is wear some latex gloves so you don't get it all over your hands. You mentioned it's a 5-step process, so we'll start with step 1, and step 1 will be to actually clean the crack out. So what you want to do is you want to get in there, you want to make sure you get any of the old debris, dust, wood, anything out of there. You basically just want it cleaned out completely before, because the cleaner it is, the better the product will work. For this, I'm just using a hand tool. You can use a router, but in this project that we're doing, we want to try and keep as much of the rustic appearance as possible. Once you get your crack completely cleaned out like this, you're going to want to move on to step 2, which is, I recommend taping it. You want to tape it because you don't want to be getting the, you don't want to get the primer especially on any of the other part of the beam or the tint. So I'm going to begin to tape. You want to get as close to the edges as possible, to the edges of the crack, just so when it's finished, it looks like it's actually naturally part of the beam itself. Alright, so now we're going to do the third step, which is actually priming the crack. ART uses an actual system with their primer, and their Primatrate's actually a two-part system, part A and part B, which actually penetrates deeper into the fibers in the wood, causing a much stronger bond with the epoxy itself. You mix it together, and you got to make sure that you mix it before you apply it to the actual crack. So now I'm going to apply it. I'm using an actual trowel knife to apply it, but you can use brushes, you can use pretty much anything you can get into the crack. When you're applying, you want to get as far back in the crack as possible, as well as both sides of the crack. You really want to do it as quick as possible because it does dry rather quickly. So you want to get done with this and onto epoxying it before it dries up, because the bonding actually works much better when the primer is actually still wet. When you're actually done applying the primer, you want to wait about 10 minutes and no more than a half hour, 45 minutes. So you don't want it to dry up, but you do have a pretty large 20-25 minute window. But you definitely want to wait 10 minutes before applying the epoxy. So I've got my crack pretty much primed up, and I'm ready now to apply the epoxy itself. So moving on, Andrew, what I've done here is I've actually backfilled the crack using ART static mixing nozzles, which I've actually used on pretty much the whole building, and I've also used here. You can actually screw them right onto the top of the bottle itself. The nozzles actually make it a lot easier to penetrate into the actual crack itself. I've been using them throughout the project, and I've used it to backfill this hole here. What we're going to show you here, now that I've backfilled this, is how to actually tint the epoxy. ART offers various different color tints that help you match, you know, whatever your project color may be. This, what we're using here is a medium pine color, and now I'll show you actually how to mix it into the epoxy itself. Once you've picked out your tint, you know, you mix your epoxy. Make sure you have your epoxy mixed up, and you're gonna apply just a little bit. You can apply more, and it will actually make it darker. It'll still be the same color that you picked to match your project, but it might be a little bit darker. So you just apply a little bit, just like this. You want to cover all the clear epoxy. Once you've done that, you then take I'm going to use a putty knife, but whatever tool you decide to use, you could use the trowels that ART actually provides. You then mix it in completely, like so. You want to make sure all the powder is mixed in. You don't want to see any clear epoxy left, because when you do start the application, that will show up. So, like I said, you just want to make sure it's all mixed in like so. So now when you've finished mixing the tint into your epoxy with the color that you think best fits the color of the beam, you're going to want to start the application. You're going to want to use a generous amount. You're going to want to get it as deep into the crack as possible. And then you just follow down with your putty knife or whatever, like I said, whatever tool you choose to use. Once you've finished filling your crack with your tinted epoxy, you're going to want to peel the tape off. You're going to want to peel the tape off as soon after you finish. The sooner you take it off, the easier it will come off. If you leave it on there for a while, it tends to dry and it's harder to take the tape off. What do you think about it, Andrew?
I think it looks great. I think it's, you know, the tint, the color match, it looks really good. And once the painters come around and ended up, you know, polying the beam, you're never going to know there's a crack there. And the structural integrity of this exterior wall is going to be even better. So just go ahead and take the tape off and see how it looks.
Absolutely. And as you can see here, like there's a couple parts on this beam where it's a natural wood, and it almost blends identical with the tint I've used. And if you plan on polying your beam or whatnot to see what it's going to be like, you can actually take some water and actually rub it on, and that's actually what it's going to look like with the actual poly. So as you can see, it's pretty identical. What do you think about it, Andy? Yeah?
I think it looks fantastic. I mean, like you said, we're just doing a straight poly in here. We're not staining the beam. And it being so rustic looking, after you apply the actual poly itself, it's really going to match, and once the poly goes over the stain itself, it's even going to darken it up a little bit, so the crack will be irrelevant at that point, and it's really just going to blend in and give the good look of the bond. So I'm happy with everything.
All right, so that's our 5-step process, and I don't know, I think it looks pretty good. What do you think?
I think it looks great, Dan. I appreciate you giving the demonstration. This concludes, the tint process of this particular beam. We're going to go around and give you a little glimpse on some of the other beam work that we've done around the bond, and hopefully, give you good ideas on what to do next.